You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Looney Lewis, and today I have the honor of introducing two very special young ladies to the show, Nikki and Nahoum and Ashley Messias. They are phenomenal. I mean, I got a chance to meet these ladies off air, and they have been on the grind. In 2020, their business took off, and guess what? It is all about habits. They are from the Habit Society, which is a newsletter on how to create healthy, sustainable habits. A 3-minute newsletter on how to master your habit sent to your inbox every Monday. They are a one-stop shop research of credible experts to bring people practical information and realistic implementation methods that can be done easy and every single day. So it's no further ado. I'm excited. Nikki, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
It is an honor, ladies. I have the opportunity to work with you in the past. And so before we dive into all things habit, tell our audience a little bit about your journey and how Habit Society came about.
Yeah, so we decided to create this because we were like everyone else. We had all these habits that we wanted to stick to, working out every day, meditating, eating healthy, reading, but we weren't able to stick to a rhythm of doing these things habitually. And we would speak about it a lot, like, okay, this time we're actually going to stick to our habits. So basically we became accountability partners at the beginning of the first lockdown. So I would get a text every morning saying I meditated for 10 minutes, and I would send one back saying I worked out for 45 minutes. It was really a way for us to stick to our habits, which was actually really tough during that time, even though we had more time than we've ever had, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. Mm-hmm. We became obsessed with becoming healthier and more efficient, sending each other podcasts, articles, books back and forth. And then we thought, maybe we're not the only ones into this. Maybe we should share what we've learned with other people and grow our accountability group. So that's really what we did with creating the Habit Society.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the purpose is to show people that small choices in your everyday life are just as important as the big ones because of the compound effect. So basically, there's this book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. So it's based on this principle that everyday decisions will either take you to the life you desire or disaster by default. So it uses the example of buying a $4 coffee every single day. So, I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but, if you add that up, I think he said it ends up being around 54 grand by the end of your lifetime. So that's just one example of the compound effect, but it can be translated into literally every realm of your life. So every little thing you do every day is extremely important. So that's a lot of what we talk about in the newsletter, why we try to emphasize the importance and power of daily actions and behaviors.
Right. Eat a small poison a day versus eating it all at once because it will kill you, right? So it's almost like you have to do the little things and be repetitive, be consistent with it to see the results. And so I want to get into, gratification and the mind, but tell us about your backgrounds. Where are you coming from? Industry? What brought you two together?
Yeah, so I am a physiotherapist. And so I work privately. So I'm kind of in the world of helping people and getting people to change. Mm-hmm. I'm also currently in school for a program called Holistic Nutrition and Health Coaching. Okay. And so that's new and super exciting and really a world that I've always wanted to delve into. And I finally took the step. And yeah, I'll let Nikki talk about herself a bit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wasn't in the field at all. I have a business background. But so, we've both really been interested in this. We actually met dancing years ago. So I think as we were younger, we always had good routines because of that. We had to show up to practice every single day. We exercised a lot, obviously, and then we had to take care of our diets because, it helped with the dancing. So it all kind of started naturally like that and then just grew and grew and grew.
Yeah. And the thing you two shared in common was you were already separately doing your routines, doing the healthy habits to set you up for success, to prime you. What you added that was missing was accountability. Mm-hmm. How important is that in actually sustaining a habit long term?
It's great to stay accountable to yourself, calendar streaks or apps. But really at the end of the day, if you can find someone who, especially you look up to and you care about what they think of you, you can tell them what you want to do so that if you don't tell them, you feel not embarrassed, but you feel a little disappointed that maybe they don't think as highly of you. I think that's the kind of relationship we have. We always want to make each other better. So I know, let's say one morning, if I don't work out, not sending Nikki the text that I worked out causes me, that 1% pain that I need to get me to do that workout. So for us, I mean, it's especially with this business, it's been a really big part of it. We always say, if one of us was doing this business alone, we would never get anything done. We always text each other, okay, I'm going to write this news, or I'm going to do this. And that's our way to even keep each other accountable with the business, which is, I guess, kind of ironic that it ended up being a business revolving around.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think I would have gotten half the things done just because I send an email to Ashley at the end of the day being like, I got this, and this done. But I'm literally working towards that email at the end of the day of what my to-do list was. So
exactly.
It's funny.
Yeah. So it shows that it applies. It's applicable in business as well.
Exactly.
Having the right people in place, the right team members in place where you have synergy, where you can actually bounce ideas off each other, but also somebody to push you, to nudge you to get things done.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Because it's evolved into its own business. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are starting businesses feel like, as an entrepreneur, they wear multiple hats and they have to wear them all alone. And what you're saying is, get accountability, get the right people around to actually do so.
Exactly. And we do complement each other in that way. Like I said, I've been more career-wise in the health world, and Nikki has that business background. So it works. Been working so far.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about habits. So the 4 laws of not breaking, but replacing a habit, right? So it's easy to talk about building habits, but habits are designed to solve our problems, right? So the brain is automating our actions so we can free up brain space to think of more creative ways to solve problems or whatnot. And so when we are ready we have to replace a habit, not break it, right? James Clear says it, and he has 4 laws. Tell us about that process, if you may, of how to effectively replace a habit. I know the first one is not making it obvious. So if you want to break something, you have to remove it from your environment. Environment is a big key. So chime in a little bit about the process of replacing old habits so that we can have the space to build new ones.
Right. So like you said, we can't actually get rid of a bad habit. We can only replace it. So that entails replacing the behavior, but leaving the old cue and the old reward. So for example, if you're someone who drank a lot of Diet Coke, the cue may have been, an afternoon lull, for example. You got tired and you needed some sort of energy booster. And the reward was a satisfying feeling of drinking the Coke and feeling energetic and, that sugar rush.
Yeah.
So instead of just trying to eliminate the Coke altogether, what you have to do is replace it with something that would still give you the same reward and you have the same cue for it. So for example, that the cue was, your energy levels were crashing. What you can do is replace it like perhaps with an electrolyte water drink. So, it's a little better. It still gives you that energy and there's still a good taste to it. So James Clear, it's called the golden rule of habit change, basically says that in order to get rid of a bad habit, you actually can't get rid of it. You can only replace it, meaning that you have to keep the same cue and the same reward, but replace the behavior in the middle. So for example, let's say you have a bad habit of drinking Coke throughout the day. The cue, for example, might be you have an energy crash and you want that sugar rush. And then the reward is the satisfying feeling of getting that energy back and drinking the refreshing Coke. So instead of just entirely stopping to drink Coke right away, what you should do instead is replace the Coke, which is the behavior, with another drink that would give you the same reward and is caused by the same cue. So for example, you can replace the Coke with a tasty electrolyte drink. So the cue would still be that feeling of you're losing energy. And then the reward would still be a satisfying taste and an energy boost with that electrolyte drink. So you have to work with the habit loop and you have to work with these cue, behavior, reward system in order to replace the habit.
Oh yeah, I'll just chime in with one more thing. It's also important to keep the old habit, to make the old habit very difficult to do. So let's say it's the habit of drinking Coke. Maybe you take all your Coke, you put it downstairs in the basement in a pantry that you rarely go to on the top shelf, so that this is going to create friction. So when you do want Coke, you think about those obstacles, even though maybe it's not such a big obstacle, but there's still an obstacle between you and the bad habit. So this is obviously the opposite of what we want to do with good habits, which is where we want to take away obstacles, take away friction. And with bad habits, you just want to get the cue out of sight. So maybe the cue for the Coke was seeing the Coke in your fridge. You take the cue away, you put the Coke downstairs in the pantry, and you make it a lot harder to get to.
Yeah. Not so obvious, not so easily accessible, because
Exactly.
you have to prime your environment. Go ahead, Nikki.
I was going to say, by the same token, you should, let's say if you are replacing it with the electrolyte drink, you should put that on your counter right where you would usually go for the Coke. And then you would just switch it out.
Yeah. A really good
example as possible.
Yeah, making it as obvious. A really good tip is to give a simple example is drinking water first thing in the morning. It's actually placing the bottle of water or glass of water on your nightstand. So that way in the morning, there is no difficulty there. You simply just reach for it and grab it. So that's a very, very good example. And there's another piece where we have to make it unsatisfactory, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that. And I know that coin in with the accountability piece.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Let's say if you take not working out as the bad habit, I know that if I don't do my workout, I have to text Nikki that I didn't do my workout. So that kind of makes it not satisfying. Mm-hmm. Or if you have a habit of, let's say, eating a big bowl of pasta or Coke, if you kind of think about after you do it, how you feel, and you associate it with these negative feelings, you're making it a little unsatisfying.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about being mindful of how you feel. So, with the Coke example, you might feel in the moment that you have all that energy, but be mindful of how you feel in the next hour or two, because you're going to crash from the sugar. So it's going to associate the Coke with a negative feeling. You have to basically pair the negative feeling with the fact that you drank the Coke. And once you associate those two things, that's going to create a negative reinforcement for that habit.
Right. A newer pathway is created then.
Exactly.
And that becomes automated. Thank you for sharing that. That's really a helpful tip to how to break or replace an old habit. And now the process of building a habit is quite the opposite, right? So tell us briefly how to build an effective habit, or similarly, a habit that you were trying to build recently and you use that model to create it.
Right. So I would say the biggest trick is to start small. Mm-hmm. So I would choose one habit that you want to start. And this is not the time to, dream big. So it may feel great to say, you're going to run 30 minutes a day. You're going to start 5 new habits. You're going to meditate for 45 minutes. You're going to create this amazing morning routine, but it's just not realistic. People usually fail this way, and it's based on the system they used and not their personal failings. So instead, I would work on one habit and start small. So once it's integrated into your routine, then you can increase the intensity and duration. So for example, I actually didn't feel like I was doing enough cardio. I was, doing a lot of yoga, maybe lifting some weights, but I didn't find I was increasing my heart rate enough. So I wanted to actually start a running habit. I knew that if I decided to, run 30 minutes a day, every day, it just would last for about 5 days. And then the weekend would come and I'd be like, it's fine, whatever. I'm not getting up to do it. And then my Monday would probably be gone anyways, and I wouldn't have started running again. So what I did instead was I started running for 5 minutes. That's it. And then after a week, I increased it to 10 minutes. And then the next week I increased it to 15. And by then I was getting used to the feeling of running. And then I solidified the habit. And then I moved on and increased the duration there. So that's what I think the approach should be for every new habit. You start with one, you start small and you start slow, and then you ramp up from there.
That's a great example.
Yeah, another big piece is the environment. So like we were talking about before, you want to put in the cues for the good habits. So for me, as an example, I wanted to read more. So I put a book on my nightstand. I put a book in my work bag. I put a book on my kitchen table that I would take to go outside and read, since it's nice out in Montreal now. So just always having that option instead of going to sit on the couch and watching TV or picking up my phone. I always had a book very close by. And then whenever I had some free time, even if it was 5 minutes, you can read a couple pages. So I would grab the book, and even if it doesn't feel like a lot that you're doing, by the end of the week, I was like, oh, wow, I've made some good progress. And then by the end of the month, you're piling up the books that you've read. So environment is definitely key as well.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I so agree with the environment and starting small. And I know there's a method James Clear talked about too, is optimizing for the starting line and not the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
Which is essentially what you guys are saying, is like you gotta focus on how you're going to start. If it's priming your environment or if it's starting honoring the 2-minute rule, you can do anything for 2 minutes. So do it for 2 minutes and then increase it gradually. And so that's powerful because you don't want to overwhelm and bombard yourself. So I'm really glad you guys shared that. So with that, I'm curious to see what your morning routines are like. How do you get up, dress up, and show up? Tell us about it.
So I'll tell you a little bit about mine. So a big one for me is intermittent fasting.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually don't eat for the first, I'd say few hours in the morning. So I usually do about a 14 to 16 hour fast.
Mm-hmm.
This allows you to have a lot more mental clarity because you have those ketone bodies. So it's basically what fuels your brain when you're burning fat instead of sugar. Because when you're doing these fasts, you can get through your sugar storages faster and start to burn the fat. I feel a lot more energetic. I don't feel kind of being pulled down by the food that I just had. And this is probably more personal things with fasting. You need to try it out, see what works for you. Some people are more 12 hours of fasting, 12 hours of eating. But for me, it saves time in the morning, money, prepping, and I can just start my day right away.
Mm-hmm.
And another big one is movement. So this one's pretty intuitive. Everyone knows how much better they feel when they move. It gets the blood flowing, the oxygen flowing, gets the endorphins going, especially if you can go outside and get some sunlight while you do it to get your circadian rhythm in sync with the outdoors. And you can do, it can be a walk, it could be weight training, it could be yoga, it could be running. Just getting your body moving and getting the systems going is, of course, such a great thing to start your day with. Then comes my cold shower. This is relatively new. I go through my phases with this one, especially in the winter in Montreal. It's not the thing you want to do in the morning, but the benefits are really incredible. Basically what happens is that it reduces your stress throughout the day because when you're in that extreme cold temperature, your body thinks you're in danger. And then once you're out of it, it thinks that you're out of this danger. So it can reduce its stress response throughout the day. It's really an energy and a mood booster. And in the moment, it might be a little uncomfortable. We just had a newsletter on this one actually, but after it, you really feel incredible. And then my last one is meditation. So obviously this calms your mind. It allows you to focus in on the day. Sometimes we wake up all a little jumbled, but if you do the 5, 10, 20 minutes of calm before your busy day, it can be extremely helpful.
Yeah, exactly. I would say mine is actually very similar, just maybe in a different order. I actually start with meditating and then I go to the movement and then I actually intermittent fast as well. And then I do the cold shower. But as a general note, we know that waking early can suck. So if you want to, you obviously to do all of these things, you have to get up really early. And that sounds very daunting. And we all know how hard it is to wake up so early. But really, if you just think about it, it really is just 10 seconds of your morning that's terrible, followed by a morning that is super productive and amazing. So once you just realize that, it's much easier. So what I do for myself is my phone far away, so across the room where I have to get up in order to turn off the alarm. So that forces me to stand up, turn off my alarm, and then I just have a tall glass of water because usually that tired feeling is really just dehydration because you haven't drank throughout the night. So once you get over that hump, which really is about 10 to 15 seconds, maybe a minute of feeling that tired, sluggish feeling, you'll realize how amazing it feels to get up before work and do all of these things. And it completely eliminates all of the looming for the rest of the day because your morning routine is basically done by 9 a.m. So you have the rest of the day to basically do whatever you want and you don't have to think, am I going to work out later? Am I going to meditate later? I need to finish that book. I need to do that workout that I missed this morning. So it really just clears your mind to do whatever you want through the rest of your day.
Yeah. No, I was going to say #worth it, right? If you actually allocate the half hour, the hour before starting the day and letting people in, because that's what happens, right? The minute you start looking at your emails, your phone, your texts, you are now looking at people's agendas for you, not so much your own. And so it's cool that you have to give yourself that time in the morning.
Exactly. And I find not checking your phone even before 9 a.m. So that I find the hardest for me. You kind of want to check your emails and your texts of what you got. But if I do this routine without checking my phone, it's all the better. And also There's one other thing that I add. So recently I've been making my bed the first thing in the morning. And this is also a super important thing because if you do something productive first thing when you wake up, it kind of sets the day to do more productive things later. So making your bed is, it's not just something that you do for your parents, when you're a kid because they wanted it. It's actually super important because it releases that serotonin and that productive feeling the first thing in the morning. So you're able to chase that feeling throughout the day and be more productive. So I found that's helped a lot recently.
Man, it's like music to my ears. I love listening to you guys talk. I can do this all day. You guys are like touching on all the points and you are explaining it so well. Ladies, thank you so much for being so enthusiastic about habits and starting Habit Society. Now, people are going to be interested. How can we connect with you? How can we find you?
The best place to go is our website, which is thehabitsociety.com. There you can see past newsletters and you can subscribe, of course, and you can follow us on Instagram at The Habit Society. You can also send us an email, society@thehabitsociety.com. We love to get to know people and obviously talk habits.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. And we have that in common and it's all things habit. Before we head off, what is a piece of advice for anyone looking to start a habit that you can give to them?
So I would say the biggest advice, especially for a good morning routine, is to start the night before. Mm-hmm. So I would choose one thing that you would like to complete before the rest of your day, calculate how much time it would take, and then work backwards to set your alarm for the right time. And then you wake up and go. So the biggest trick is to actually start your routine the night before.
Yeah, and that includes getting the good sleep, maybe wearing your blue blockers at night or not even going on your computer or your phone. We always say the morning routine starts with the nighttime routine the night before. It's super important.
You have to plan. Yeah, you have to plan it out the night before. It's well said. I love the piece about making your bed. You don't do it for your parents. You do it for you. Exactly. It sets you off on the right note and you come home to a clean bed at the end of the day. Again, you're prepping your bed for the night before. You're thinking ahead, starting with the end in mind, right?
Exactly.
Ladies, it's been a joy having you on the show. I really appreciate our time together. Thank you again for coming today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed it as well.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,